Good morning. It's great to be here. It's great to see a lot of familiar faces. It's been 8 years since I've been here to participate in one of these forums. I think the only difference is I've got a lot more gray hair. But certainly, as we talk about what we plan to do as executive councilors, I look around this room and tell you that my history tells me that I will make a good executive counselor, but most importantly, my mother tells me that, and my wife. Grew up on a pig farm in South Manchester. Moved to a house in the North End, where my mother at 93 still lives there, and I can tell you I get her 3 calls a day to tell me what I'm doing wrong. But most importantly, I live in a house 2 blocks away with my wife, Cassandra. My brother and I were fortunate. We built a company. We sold that company, and it was time to get back to our community. So I ran for Alderman in Ward 2. Was successful there. Then ran for the state senate, and was successful there. My wife and my mother decided that I was going to come back to Manchester and run for mayor one Sunday, and that's what they told me I was going to do. After this past election in February, my wife looked at me and said, "This isn't working." And I said, "Cassandra, we've been married for 32 years. What do you mean this isn't working?" She said, "You got to find something to do. There's a position called executive council, and you will run for that." And I think they understand that whenever I run for a position, I take it seriously and I put in 100%. That's because the mentor that I grew up with, my dad, told me that if you ever do anything, make sure you put it in as 100%. Look people straight in the eye, tell them what you feel and what you believe and what you stand for. I think that's what's most important. We may not agree, but there'll never be a question of where I stand. You'll know it, and I'll stand behind it. So I look forward to completing this campaign in the next 8 days and being your executive counselor. I can tell you, as you can well know, that when you call me, I will return the phone call and try and help you with your problem, as I've always done as an elected official, because it stands with you, the folks that are here, that are the people of the 4th District for the Executive Council. So thank you very much.
Good morning. My name is Adath. Not as many of you know me as know the former mayor, but I'm excited to be with you here this morning. And before I go to the issues, I just want to reflect briefly on the events of yesterday and what they meant to me. So my son went to school downstairs before he started at Webster. And my younger son goes here now. And so what happened yesterday really impacted me, because it made me think about the safety of our communities and what we need to do to ensure that we have love in our communities and trust and commitment to each other. And as I thought about that, I said, what am I going to do? Because, like with many of you, while I pray for our country, and while I think about what we can do to change, I want to do something about it. So the few small steps that I took so far was like you, I came here today, because I think today all of us here, sitting together in a civil dialogue, changes the way that our country works. And I shook the hands of the officers as I walked in and thanked them for being here to protect us. And on Tuesday, it's my turn to bring Lincoln downstairs to school. And I'm going to be proud to do that, because while we're not Jewish, something that I can do to promote a country where we understand and love each other is introduce him to a different religious faith, so that he knows that we are more together than we would ever be separated. So, in that spirit of conversation, I'm excited to be here with you this morning. And I'm excited to be here because I'd like to use my business experience that I've earned over the last 15 years here in Manchester, working with Dine to help grow technology jobs in the mill yard, and currently working with Dean Kamen on trying to bring biotech manufacturing to Manchester. I'm going to try to bring that business experience to the Executive Council. And I think we need new ideas, and I personally think we don't need more old politics. I think we need to focus on innovation at state government, at the state government level, and I think we can do that in lots of different ways. Whether it's killing the fax machines that we're currently using to prescribe medically assisted treatment on the opioid crisis, or whether it's finally getting down to work and getting commuter rail to happen down to Boston, or whether it's thinking more broadly about how we can introduce technology and innovation in state government. These are all ways that I would like to bring my business experience to benefit our community. And it's not just an experience in business that I'd like to bring to the table. I'd also like to bring my experience in the community where I've been committed and have lived ever since I came back from law school. Thank you so much.
As Executive Counselor, in addition to as Executive Counselor, please state what you would do to be a moral and ethical leader and to promote an environment of civility in New Hampshire in increasingly turbulent times.
Well, one of the things I would do is just continue what I have been doing, which is working and learning from people that I agree with and people that I don't agree with. Early this year, I was privileged to have breakfast with Councilor Bezoric. And I don't agree with Councilor on a lot of issues, but I know that I have something to learn. And I think that that's the first step in the way that we need to approach government. If you don't agree with people, and I can tell you this, I was the only Democrat in most of the companies that I've helped run. You have to understand how to have a conversation and disagree without being disagreeable. And I think that starts with an approach that's open-minded and takes everyone's opinion into account. And that's what I've done as a business executive. That's what I've done when I've served on the boards of various nonprofits. And that's what I'd be committed to doing as your representative in Concord, is listening to your ideas and hopefully trying to implement the ones where we agree and find creative solutions to get past issues where we disagree.
Well, being the mayor, people look at you and think you have this incredible power, that you can get things done without having the votes of the board. That's not the way it works. I was in the minority as being the mayor, but we've got an awful lot of things done in that 8-year period because I worked across the aisle. We built a municipal complex that was on time and under budget. We made so many changes to our educational system. And again, on the Board of School Board, I was in the minority. So to be able to do things, you have to be able to work with people. You have to give them ideas that you think will work, and you have to get them at the table. What's most important is to make sure you have ideas that are going to include the community in itself. And when people called, it was always an honor and a pleasure to work with them and help them. I can tell you that people ask me if I miss being the mayor. I do miss being the mayor because it was the place that you could help somebody at 5 o'clock in the afternoon when they needed a place to stay with their 3 kids. So again, I'll work across the aisle and make sure we can get things done in the state of New Hampshire as we did in the city of Manchester.
Does the Executive Council have a role in the opioid crisis in New Hampshire?
Thank you. Yes, I believe it has 2 roles. The first one is to make sure that we are efficiently and effectively deploying the $40+ million that we got from the federal government, and I'd be excited to work on that immediately to make sure that we can get those dollars deployed as quickly as possible. The second thing that I think we can do, and this is really someplace I hope to bring my business experience in innovation and technology to play, is collaborate with our different commissioners to bring technology to the table. And one example I'd give you is right now, it's very easy to prescribe an opiate that helps get people on board to addiction. But it's really hard to prescribe medically assisted treatment, which is what the off-ramp is for addiction. So one of the things that I do is I'd say, instead of what happens now, where you've got to fill out a 3-page form, fax it to Concord, and they take 3 days to fax it back, well, there's an app for that. And I really think that I'd be able to collaborate with the commissioners, based on my experience in technology, to help them use innovative ways to make things happen more quickly for people that are addicted.
Yesterday was Drug Take-Back Day. I visited 10 communities that were running that program and having some interesting conversations with the people that I saw. Manchester led the way with safe stations. One day I had the police chief, the fire chief, come into my office and said they thought they had a program that might work for addicts. They said to me it would take 6 to 18 months to get it implemented in the state of New Hampshire. I said, you have 6 weeks, because it's going to save lives. Let's get it done. They went out and they got it done. It is now a model across this country. It works. When we talk about the opiate epidemic, we have to start including the addicts in conversations, because it's an illness, and have them participate on what they think is what's going to be the cures and the helping to end this awful, awful disease. Thank you.
This is our last question, and then we will go into closing statements by the candidates. And it's this, perhaps some confusion as to what the Executive Council is. New Hampshire is the last state to have an Executive Council. What is the reason to keep it?
Well, I think it's a good question, and it's actually one that I asked when I started considering whether to run for the office. My understanding of the history, as based on talking with several former executive councilors, is that it really came out of 2 things. One, the king wasn't excited about the idea that the governor would become a mini-king, and so put a restriction on the power of government in New Hampshire. And 2, the merchant class at the time were worried that this appointee, this royal appointee, wouldn't know much about business, and so it wastes taxpayer dollars. And if you ask me today whether or not I wanted to have more powerful state government, or if I wanted to have or if I thought the state government had as much business sense as I wanted to, I'd probably tell you no. And so that's why I think it's still a good institution for us to have. It serves as, I think, a positive check on the power of the governor and a positive way to make sure that we're spending our money efficiently and effectively. And I think an exciting role that it can play is as a collaborator, like most boards, with the executives that are running the operation, to make sure that they're operating as efficiently and effectively as possible.
Well, I can tell you that question is asked almost every single day when I'm talking to people. Why do we have the Executive Council? Because it's all about you. It's about local constituents and the direct contact that they can have with councilors to make sure their voices are heard. That's what's most important. They have oversight of judges, they have oversights of moving budget funds, they have oversight of contracts, they have oversight of the 10-year highway plan. Those are things as a counselor that you have to understand where you can get your answers from. Being a state senator, I understood the budget because I was on the finance committee. So I know when you look at the budget as a council, when things may be out of line. Understanding what the council does is more about understanding where the constituents are and how they can get you. There are 300 appointments that we approve during the course of the year. But we also approve notary publics and justice of the peace. So the council's here because it's closest to you. Thank you.
I'd like to invite each candidate to give a 2-minute closing statement.
Well, thank you very much, former Mayor Gatsas. Thank you to the Temple for being here this morning. It's been a great conversation, and I hope that we're able to continue it over the next 8 days throughout this district. In closing, I'd like to say that I believe the stakes are high in this race. There are some real differences between myself and my opponent. I'm committed to funding Planned Parenthood. I'm committed to making progress happen on commuter rail. I'm committed to using new ideas and not old politics to solve problems that we have as a state. You know, my experience growing up has shaped my commitment to this community. I went to Belmont High School for 2 years, and then I went to Bishop Brady for 2 years. The reason I went to Bishop Brady was because we got a letter in the mail, and the letter said that we were about to lose accreditation. So my dad said, well, I want you to have a chance to go to college, so we're going to move you to Bishop Brady, where you can make sure that you get in, and they'll take your high school diploma. But what he did next was really what taught me about how New Hampshire works. And it's a big reason of why I'm here today. He didn't say that we should have vouchers. He didn't try and move our family because I had a younger brother that he knew would go into the same school system. He volunteered. He joined the school board. And in the 15 years between when I went to high school and my little brother went, we transformed the school. They built a new school. It won awards. And that set a very powerful example for me. That the way New Hampshire works is when you get involved. It's when you volunteer. So that's why when Chris Pappas said to me when I held this event in January, he said, Gray, you know what? I'm running for Congress and now this seat's going to be open. And you have some business experience that could be really useful. So you should run. And I thought to myself, boy, you know, there's someone who knows what he's talking about, who has understood how to do this job and done it incredibly well. And he's telling me that I have a chance to make an impact. And I thought about what my dad would do. And my dad would say, you know what? I have experience that I think can be helpful to our community, and I'm going to get involved. So that's why I'm here. I hope you earned your vote, and I'm excited to continue this conversation for the next 8 days.
I want to thank the Temple for putting on this event, and I want to thank you all for being here this morning, and you didn't leave for the Executive Council got an opportunity to speak. So again, thank you very much for spending the full morning with us. I think it's very clear that there are differences between myself and my opponent. First thing I want to see is to make sure we complete I-93. When I started in the Senate, it was $195 million for that project. It's now gone over $500 million. So let's get I-93 done before we have conversations about other things. And when you talk to the people in the district, they tell you, what about us? And they want to be heard, and they want to see their executive counselor. I've toured 15 of the council seats that are out there, selecting boards, when they've had their meetings, and I told them that if I'm fortunate enough to be elected, I will be back to give them my phone number and address whatever questions they may have. So I think it's important that there is a difference. You may not agree with me on positions that I have, but you know where I stand. And you know that if you call me, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, I'm going to do everything in my power to help you, as I've always done as an elected official. And I think that's what's important, that we hear each other and we do what we can do to help each other. So again, I look forward to these next 8 days, and I ask you for your vote on November 6th. Thank you very much.